Hello everyone, and welcome to the speedrun guide for Tik Tok Shock. This stage was first featured during the PlayStation XP tournament, and this is the first of 5 brand new challenge stages that Team Asobi is going to release. And not only are these challenge stages, but they are also speedrun stages. So I'm going to teach you everything you need to know in order to get your time under 29 seconds. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. For this stage, you are given the stopwatch, which allows you to freeze time momentarily, and this is activated by hitting either the L2 or the R2 trigger. Now, you don't have to use this if you want to. I changed mine to R1 and L1, and if you want to change your custom button assignments, then you will need to go to your system settings, go down to accessibility, and then go down to controllers, custom button assignments for DualSense wireless controller, enable custom button assignments, and then customize your button assignments to whatever is most comfortable for you. Now let's talk about the stage and how to maximize our speed so we can cut down our time as much as possible. The main gimmick of this stage is that you want to stay on the ice as much as possible because this allows Astro to move faster. And even while you jump and do a spin or a hover, Astro will actually maintain that momentum. So if you have to land on a platform that has no ice on it, make sure that you do that as late as possible so you can maintain your momentum for longer. Aside from maintaining speed with the ice, the 2 most difficult parts of the stage are by far landing both of these seal jumps in one run. It is also important that whenever you are going to attempt this stage again, that you actually go through the menu and hit restart. If you do not, then these seals will be on different animations, which can mess you up whenever you are trying to land these seal jumps. Without using these seals, you can get roughly a 29.5 time, and while using them, you can get a low 28 and maybe even possibly a sub 28 second. So let's go to the beginning. At the start, we can see there's an ice ramp in front of us. So all you have to do is literally just walk right onto it so you can start building up your speed as soon as possible. Next, we will need to stop time in order to jump on top of these fish being shot out of the cannon. Different runners freeze the time at different parts, and it does not matter when you freeze time, but as I stated before, you want to make your jump as long as possible so you can maintain your momentum from skating across the ice that you just built up. Next, you will need to jump over these electric enemies onto this ice so that way you can get your momentum again, and then you're going to jump to the right and go over to this seal and get a seal launch. When you are going for this, you must be using the lasers from Astro's hover in order to get this. This is a very tricky seal launch to get, even much more difficult than Let It Slide if you play that stage and try to get the seal launch from it. What I like to do is I like to do a mid-air spin near the water, and then I like to do my hover to land on top of the seal. And when you do, you need to immediately jump whenever you land on it in order to get a good launch so that way you can make it up here on top of this platform. Whether you have watched my run or other runners, you may have noticed that whenever time is frozen, that it is unfrozen at certain parts during this section of the stage. That is to line up this electric enemy at the top so that way it does not run into you whenever you're trying to do this seal launch. If you freeze time and then let the entire timer expire, you will find that whenever you're getting launched by this seal, that the electric enemy will be just in your way to zap you every single time. So it is important that you unfreeze time before the entire timer expires. There is a particular moment that I unfreeze the time, but that is for a setup later in the stage, which I will explain whenever we get there. That being said, you can however freeze time and use the entire duration of it and get ahead of this electric spinning enemy before it catches you and kills Astro. It is extremely difficult to pull off, but if you do get ahead of the electric enemy, then you know that you are going at a very fast pace. The difference between going down the normal path and using the seal launch will depend on how well you can execute this seal launch. Getting a bad seal launch but still making it will usually save you about 18 frames or 0.300 seconds, and getting the best seal launch will save you about 27 frames or 0.450 seconds. Once you get on top of here, you'll want to start scanning across and getting ready to go to these platforms in front of you that are moving to the left and right. While you are going across these ice platforms, you need to put your focus on this card enemy back here. It is going to start throwing cards at you, and you need to make the jump over this red platform and land on the cards. The reason you're doing this is you're trying to maintain your momentum from the ice and making this jump as long as possible. So while you're jumping across, you need to freeze time at the right moment, or just time your jump well enough so that way you can land on top of the cards. Once you have landed on a card, you will need to get to this breakable ice platform below you so that way you can start skating across it and build your speed back up again. Once you do, you will need to do a jump, a mid-air spin, and a hover while you grab this flower on this platform but you do not want to touch this platform that is turning with snow on it, or else it will take away all your speed. You will need the speed from the breakable ice platform in order to reach this seal way out to the left. You do not need to go directly over the flower in order to grab it. As long as you're within a certain radius of it, Astro will automatically pick it up. As you can see, I'm actually pretty far to the left here, but Astro still picks up the flower because I am within that radius. After you grab the flower, you're going to want to hover as long as possible without touching the water in order to get as much distance as you possibly can. Once you do, then hit the square button in order to activate the flower, and that'll float you all the way to this seal, and then you will need to do a well-timed jump in order to get launched from it. There is more than one way to do this, and I will show you the way that I do it and the way that other runners do it. So I told you at the very beginning of the stage that I choose to freeze time and unfreeze it at certain specific moments. I do that in order to set up this second seal so that way I can always be in the right window in order to get launched from it every time. So what I do is that I freeze time as soon as I possibly can when the stage starts, and then I unfreeze it whenever I go by this little line in the ground on this red platform before the electric enemies. These are visual cues that I use to maintain my time freeze and unfreeze consistent as possible. And then whenever I am up top and I have to get to this card enemy, I freeze time to jump across the cards. And what I do is that I let the entire timer expire so that way I know it stays within the same time frame. If you're using this method and get both of these correct, you will find that the seal will be perfectly lined up for you, so that way all you have to do is land on it and then jump, so that way you can get the massive seal launch from this second seal. There is a method that most of the other runners use if you do not like this setup. What most of the other runners use is they unfreeze time after the card enemy, and then they look at the seal as they are skating across this breakable ice platform, and when the seal waves and puts his hand down, they freeze time again. And then just as you are getting over the seal, you need to unfreeze time and then do a quick input of a jump afterwards in order to get launched by it. The difference in time from using this seal to taking the normal path is roughly 1 second. Lastly, you will need to get on top of this breakable ice platform where these enemies are at. You can do a hover and then a spin to destroy them, or whatever method that you prefer. It doesn't really matter at this point. The main objective is to land on this ice platform as soon as possible, so that way you can start building your momentum up again. And then once you do, just do some quick little jumps to get over all of these electric enemies, which is pretty straightforward. And then you're going to skate on these breakable ice platforms all the way to the end of the stage, and that's where this big fan is. If you get a lucky time stop, the fan will be out of your way in the middle, so that way you can go directly toward it. If you find that it is not, then just slightly swing either to the right or left, whichever one is easier for you to do, because you want to get as straight of a line as possible as you can to the finish line in order to get the best time possible. The easiest way to finish this stage and to make sure that you're finishing it as fast as possible is to skate all the way to the end of these breakable ice platforms and then hit square to do the flower jump, and then just go straight toward the finish line. You don't have to do a midair spin, you don't have to do a hover or anything fancy. Just activate the flower when you're at the end of these ice platforms, and you will be at the perfect height, so that way you can just run onto the button and end the stage as early as possible. And as always, here's a clip of me using these strategies in a run. As that was the Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 7. Oh, lost my speed there. That sucks. Still got a PB though. I hope that this video helped you to hit your goal for this stage. A huge thanks to Commander Fox and B-Dud, who allowed me to use some of their clips to showcase different ways and different strategies that they use in order to overcome the obstacles in this stage. And if you ever need additional help, I highly recommend joining the Speedrun.com Astrobot Discord server, which I will drop in the description. There are more people than just me there who can help you further improve your times. And if you ever want to watch me attempt some of these stages live, I recommend following me on Twitch so that you get a notification when I go live, and you can watch me try to pull off these strategies in real time. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video, and good luck with your runs.